The return of serve is one of the most important shots in tennis. It's also one of the hardest shots in tennis for a lot of players, and I was definitely one of those players. I used to struggle massively on the return when I was growing up, and it took me a while to figure out what was going on, because yes, there's a different technique. You need to obviously have appropriate footwork, you need to time your split step well, you need to abbreviate your backswing, so instead of taking a massive cut at the ball, you kind of shrink things down and keep the racket more out in front of you and potentially block the ball a little bit more. But then we've also got another side to it. One of the reasons that the serve is so challenging is the ball is coming at you from a different angle, and you've often got a lot less time to react. So it presents certain challenges in terms of how your visual system is functioning. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this video, because it was issues with the ability to read the ball and track the ball through to contact which are really creating my problems on return, and I had to address those to get to where I am now, where I'm very confident on either side in any situation. So I want to show you how to train the vision skill that was really beneficial for me, and hopefully it'll be beneficial for you. If you enjoy the video, give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel before, really appreciate it if you could do that as well. In order to return serve well, and actually in order to hit any shot in tennis well, there are a number of different visual skills that are going to be involved. Your ability to read where the ball going quickly is going to be essential, but that wasn't really the thing that held me back on my return. I really struggled to watch the ball through to the contact point. I would kind of lose the ball at the last moment, and because of that, it would cause me to kind of miss hit and shank a lot of my returns. So I had to do something very specific to address that, because in terms of the way our visual systems function, if I look at the camera lens right now, my visual system is kind of functioning in a certain way. If I hold my thumb here and switch and look at that target, making that fast eye movement gets controlled by certain parts of the brain. If I follow my thumb like that, we've got certain parts of the brain involved. But when we're returning serve and at the last moment before contact, my head isn't still, my head is now moving, and as soon as we start to move our head, we've got a balance system in our inner ear that detects head movement and then starts to control how our eye movements function. So your ability to perform well visually while your head is still is very different to your ability to perform well visually while you're moving your head. So that was my big problem, was this vestibular system and the way it was communicating with my visual system, so that as I started to turn my head to watch the ball through to contact, I would basically lose the ball. So I had to do a lot of work to train the vestibular system. So there's a number of different things that we could work on. But I want to show you one very important drill, and then I'm going to show you a slightly more advanced progression that you can use as a slight assessment. So we'll do the basic version first and then go a little bit deeper with it. So to perform this drill, you need some kind of visual target. This is something that you can do using a ball. So often I hold balls and I look at a letter in the logo, but here I'm going to be using this stick with letters on it. So I've got a stick with letters on, and I'm just going to be focusing on one of the letters. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the target and my head at the same speed. So I'm trying to look at the target as I move my head. So I'm imagining that my nose is connected to this target by maybe a piece of string or something that keeps them together. So I'm trying to move them at the same speed, so head and eye tracking together. This is something that I'm going to want to work on in different directions. So I'm going to go to the left, I'm going to go to the right, I'm going to go down, I'm going to go up, I'm going to go up and right, I'm going to go up and left, I'm going to go down and left, and I'm going to go down and right. The reason that I'm doing all of those directions is because we've got different receptors in this vestibular system that deal with movement in different directions, and we need them all to be functioning. And we've got different muscles that move our eyes in different directions, and the vestibular system and the eye muscles are all connected, and we need them all to function well together. So we need to practice all these different directions so that wherever the ball goes on the return or any of your other shots, you can watch the ball through to contact, because that is what's happening at the final stages of ball tracking. The serve comes in, it bounces, and then as I step into the ball, I need to be able to track the ball with my head at the same speed, and then hopefully keep my head a little bit more still on contact. So this is the very simple training drill to be able to train that skill. And this is the sort of thing where you start out nice and sensibly and safely and potentially build it up to, quite significant amounts over time. So maybe initially just 3, 4, 5 reps in each direction might be enough to get you started, and then over time you're going to do more reps. Now, because we're training the balance system here, and when I first started doing these drills, I would get really dizzy because I had a problem with my balance system. Now I was able to correct it and it went away over time, and now I can do 50 of them in a row without any problems, which is probably why I can return serve much more effectively. But when you start doing this, if you feel dizzy or anything, just stop and take a break. If you feel fine, then challenge it, but just be sensible with your training, just like you would with any other type of training. Okay, that's the basic version. Now I want to talk about a slightly more advanced application, and we're going to turn it into a little bit of an assessment, because that's why I'm using something with letters on it, because I can then start to use it as an assessment. Because when I look to the left, hopefully the target that I'm looking at should stay really clear. So when I look in this position, it's really clear. I can read the letter perfectly. When I move all the way through, I can see that letter perfectly clearly. But what you might find when you do this, as you start to move the target, you can't see it perfectly clearly, because now the communication between your balance system and your eyes isn't functioning at a sufficiently high level, so your eyes don't stay perfectly lined up, and because of that, the target is going to become a little bit blurry, or potentially it might start to double or split in two. So for the advanced assessment, we're going to be testing all of those directions and seeing if we go in each direction, are we able to maintain visual clarity, or does it start to change when we go in a particular direction? And this is going to be very much speed dependent, because when you go really slowly, you're not going to create much activation in your balance system. So what you're going to want to do is start to go quicker and quicker, and basically find out the maximum speed that you can get to before things start to go wrong, or find out at what point things start to go wrong. And it might be in all directions, or it might be in one specific direction. And me, it was going up and down. Side to side, I could always go really quickly, but going up and down, I was horrible. It would just split in two, and I would get a lot of double vision. And hopefully it goes without saying, if you move your head up and down, you get double vision, that when you're returning serve, it's going to be tricky. When you're serving yourself, it's going to be tricky. When you're dealing with overheads, it's going to be tricky. So that was what I was dealing with, and I had to overcome. And training this and working on it over and over again was part of the process. Now, what I also like to do, because the letters on this are quite kind of big, I use something called a Snellen chart app. So this is just a free app that you can get for iPhone and Android. So it's like a free vision testing app, and now it's got different sizes of letter. So what you can do is hold it at arm's length, find the smallest letter that you can, and go, okay, that's the smallest letter that I can read at this distance. Now I can be a little bit more precise with my assessments. Okay, now what happens when I go in those different directions? So we want to work on the speed, and we want to work on being able to do smaller and smaller letters, maintaining visual clarity at faster speeds and with smaller targets. And this was massively important for me in getting my game overall, but especially my return of serve to where it is now. Okay, so we've got the basic version, and then we've got that more advanced assessment and training progression. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know how you got on with the assessment. Were you able to do it in all directions perfectly, or was one of the directions or some of the directions problematic? Did it leave trails? Did it go blurry? Was there double vision? Did you notice anything that could be potentially holding you back on your return of serve? If you did, awesome. We can start to work on those training drills, and it can often really help to solve the problem. It was definitely very instrumental for me. But I had to work on other things as well, because for me, I had a number of other visual areas of dysfunction going on, and I also had certain coordination limitations, because vision's massive in tennis, but then the ability to coordinate your body and control the angle of your racket face through contact is also very important. And that's why I work with tennis players in this area now. There's so much fantastic content about the precise technique that you should use, but if your body isn't capable of using those techniques, it's really going to max out your level. And like I said, that was what I experienced when I was younger as well. So if you would like to learn more about using brain-based training to improve your performance on court, then I've created a free masterclass to teach you more about it. I'll place the link up there, and I'll place a link down in the description so that you can check it out. And if you sign up for that free masterclass, towards the end of the class, it's going to tell you a little bit about my program and the next steps involved if you would potentially like to work together. Okay? I hope you have enjoyed the video. I hope you're going to put this training drill to good use. I hope you're going to go through the assessments and leave me a comment and let me know how you get on. And I'll catch you next time.